Today's talk focuses on the fact that there are 5 reasons why Tesla makes the numbers necessary to enter the S&P. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. Right now, everybody's on the edge of their seats waiting for what's going to happen with the S&P. We contend that there are a number of reasons why it is that we're confident that they'll make it. And we decided to put it in 5, but it could actually be 10 or 20. The first item to consider is the lack of a re-shutdown. Elon worked hard to get the facility back open in a timely fashion after the shutdown because he knew the numbers would be close to get over. And so we're happy to see that there hasn't been another shutdown despite the spike in COVID issues going on in California right now. The second thing that we wanted to take a look at today is the fact that Tesla has what we call a squishy balance sheet. So if you think about it, there are a number of blocks of cash that sit on Tesla's balance sheet, and Elon has the flexibility with the help of his CFO to modify which numbers are used and how they're used to optimize what might be in the best interest of Tesla. So these numbers include the fact that there's probably $2 billion worth of reservation dollars on the sheet when it comes to the semi-truck, as well as the Cybertruck, as well as Model Ys that are sitting out there. So all of these reservations represent cash that in some ways the company could tap into. Another cash reserve is the subscription fees associated with autonomous driving or autopilot. There's a certain schedule under which that revenue is allowed to be considered, and so you could slightly accelerate that if you needed extra cash to come in. The biggest pool of money, and there are actually other pools that are sitting there, but a lot of them are just different types of cash that can be recategorized and brought into the income statement to help out on numbers if the numbers were slightly light. The biggest source of funds that we've seen Tesla using over the last year or so to make their numbers is EV tax credits. As you know, as of last year, it was $300 million a quarter, but there's been a process going on where both General Motors and Fiat Chrysler are writing very big checks to Tesla in order to make up for the imbalance between the number of SUVs they're selling and the number of electric vehicles they're selling. So as a result, Tesla generates some nice revenue numbers from this. We actually expect this number to start spiking or increasing, driven by the fact that the European manufacturer, the major OEMs, VW, Audi, as well as Mercedes and BMW are not having difficulties making electric cars, they're having difficulty selling them. And the way the EU counts things is not whether or not you've made them, they count whether you've sold them or not. So we actually expect these EV numbers to increase as payments coming from competing firms as we enter the next year, because that's when the tax credits start hitting extremely hard in terms of impact, and it's cheaper to pay Tesla than it is to pay a fine to the EU. The second and third reason that we think that Tesla easily makes the number is there was actually an announcement yesterday from Elon that said it's going to be fairly tight to meet the numbers that they need to get the profitability and get into the S&P. Now, it was interesting because the stock was sort of operating around 995, and then after it was reported that Elon had made this comment internally, it really spiked the stock to the close at 110 yesterday. So our take on this is that there's a difference between very tight and loose tight. The beauty of Tesla right now, as we just shared in our first examples, is that when you have kind of a squishy balance sheet. You have all that cash sitting around. If the number gets tight on revenue, you're easily able to bring cash over and use that cash to make sure that you achieve the number. He's done it for the last 4 quarters, and there are a lot of people that are trying to figure out what this number is. But I think it's very difficult to predict because they have flexibility in how much money they bring over or don't. And so therefore, anticipating what the exact number is and how it contributes to the balance sheet, I think is difficult because there are a lot of components of calculations, including, for example, how many SUVs did GM and or Fiat Chrysler sell, and therefore how much do they have to pay Tesla. And so in theory, their numbers might be down this quarter because of COVID, but we have the same thing with Fiat Chrysler when we look in Europe, etc. Italy has been shut down, so it's a tough number to lock down, but it's been the source of analysts being surprised on the upside by Tesla for the last 2 quarters, and we expect the same thing to occur. The fourth reason why we're confident that Tesla makes it is sort of a backwards reason, and that is the body language of Elon Musk. On Friday, there was a delayed launch of 57 satellites for SpaceX, and there are another 200 satellites that need to launch in order to get ready for beta testing broadband service that's being provided by SpaceX. So instead of tweeting about production or things of that nature, Elon was busy tweeting about what's going on with SpaceX. And this is fairly unusual. For the last 2 or 3 quarters, if you look back, you'll notice that if the numbers are tight, Elon will actually change his schedule so that he now starts living in the Fremont plant and lending a hand wherever possible to increase production. He's also enlisted his mom's help in terms of all aspects of production and delivery. And so this is a very big surprise to me to not see him in Fremont. And it means one of 2 things. Either they're going to miss badly and he doesn't need to bother showing up, or he's confident that they're going to make the number, so there's actually no need for him to show up because the number is easily had, and therefore they're going to get it done. Our take on this is that, they're confident that the number is going to come in at at or above expectation, and so therefore he doesn't need to show up, and he can focus on issues happening at SpaceX because the last couple of day push for the quarter is not a big deal for him to get the win. So so bottom line is that Elon's confidence is part of why I think that it's easy to make the assumption that they're going to make their numbers. The jump yesterday in the stock price, as was shared by a good friend of mine, was a show in Elon's creative ways to get information out beyond SEC rules, because the announcement that he made internally regarding things being tight was not an external tweet of any sort, but he knew that as soon as he sent that out, someone would leak that to the press, and that leak obviously pushed the stock price $10 or $15, which is exactly what the SEC is trying to avoid. So so perhaps the fifth and final is just the fact that China is exceeding the production numbers anticipated. And it's our belief that with China ahead of schedule in terms of its production and Fremont having been shut down but coming on strong to finish out the quarter, getting the raw number is going to be pretty easy. The bigger challenge is which cash is he going to use to close out, making sure that he gets the absolute right number necessary to get the W for Tesla in this case. The other thing that we're noting on this whole thing is sort of the bad side of this. It takes 4 quarters of profitability to qualify for the S&P, and this is the 4th quarter if they are profitable. So I'm extremely confident. And so kind of the 5th element of this is that because of the S&P entry, there's going to be a Tesla benefit of anywhere from 10% increase in the value of the stock to as much as 20 or 25% increase in the value of the stock, especially in the short term as the the last remaining shorts get wiped out. So it's my belief then that one of the reasons why this is a focal point of success for Elon is that for us, $5 billion might be a big deal on the high side of the impact of the S&P entrance, but even for Elon, $5 billion is a big deal. So the question mark is, will he allow, without extra effort, that $5 billion to go away? And not only would he lose the $5 billion, but his loss could be even greater because the stock price might fall 5 to 10%, because where we are as a stock price is somewhat anticipation of the S&P entry, and to not make it would actually potentially impact this whole issue. So I think it's exciting times. I think they're going to easily make it. I will say I'm a little bit surprised from a trade blast standpoint at numbers this morning. Prior to 8 o'clock, the stock had gotten up to 114. Last time I checked, it was at 106. So there seemed to be some heavy news that hit at 8 a.m. that hit the entire market, because there are a lot of folks, including Tesla, that started losing value right away. So we look forward to getting updates on this and reviewing. It's my suggestion over the next few days to set up positions, to anticipate a big win by Tesla. But it's not a bad idea to hedge, because if the news isn't what everybody wants to see, the stock could get easily crushed. So we look forward to continuing to analyze and report, and we look forward to any and all comments from you. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We also want to encourage you to consider 25 leg lifts a day on each leg, strengthening quad muscles so it limits your knee issues. Also wanted to encourage you to consider a 5-2 or other fasting type diet. Another is to consider a 30 SPF or better, avoiding skin cancer issues. And we also wanted to encourage you to consider a couple of times a week lift as a way to increase bone density. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, Lehithro, Hebrew, Choda Hafez, Farsi, Hey Do, Swedish, Zdravstvuyte. Hello in Russian, Ni hao ma, hello in Chinese. And in Jamaica we say, Nuff respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now. And please take time to share any and all comments. Would be greatly appreciated. SS Chevelle from the old days, and we're in York, PA.